Intimacy is a word that stirs both longing and fear, especially for people with avoidant attachment styles. On the surface, they may seem distant, uninterested, or even cold. They may pull away just as things get close, sending confusing signals that leave their partners wondering what they truly want. Yet behind the wall of detachment lies a complex inner world filled with desires they cannot easily express. Avoidants crave connection, but their fears and defenses often stop them from voicing it. To understand avoidance during intimacy, we must move beyond their behaviors and into the hidden needs they rarely admit. This exploration will help you see that avoidance is not a lack of desire, but a struggle to balance vulnerability with self-protection. By uncovering what avoidants secretly crave, you will better understand both them and the dynamics of intimacy itself. The hidden longing for safety. At the heart of every avoidant lies a deep need for safety. They may resist closeness because in their early lives, intimacy felt unsafe or unreliable. They may have learned that vulnerability led to disappointment, rejection, or even pain. So as adults, they create distance as a way to protect themselves. Yet in intimacy, they still long for a place where they can finally feel secure. What avoidants crave during intimacy is the assurance that they will not be judged, controlled, or abandoned. They want to feel safe enough to let their guard down. The paradox is that they crave this very thing while simultaneously fearing it. In silence, they long for a partner who makes closeness feel gentle rather than overwhelming, someone who shows patience instead of pressure. Safety is their doorway to intimacy, but it is also the hardest door for them to open. The desire to be accepted without pressure avoidants secretly crave acceptance for who they are, without the demand to change too quickly. Intimacy often feels to them like a test they cannot pass. They fear that if they reveal too much, they will lose their independence, and if they reveal too little, they will lose the relationship. What they want but cannot say is that they long to be embraced just as they are in the moment, without constant pressure to give more than they are ready for. During moments of intimacy, an avoidant may appear withdrawn or hesitant, but inside, they are silently hoping for a partner who can read their pace and honor it. They crave the freedom to open up in layers, slowly and authentically. When they feel accepted rather than judged for their hesitance, they begin to trust. That acceptance becomes a bridge from avoidance to closeness. The yearning for emotional closeness they cannot name. Avoidants often struggle to label or articulate their emotions. Because of this, they may come across as disconnected or unemotional. But underneath the surface, they crave emotional closeness as much as anyone else. What they fear is not the closeness itself, but the vulnerability it requires. During intimacy, what they long for is not just physical touch, but emotional presence. They want to feel that their partner is truly with them, that the connection is more than skin deep. They may not know how to say it, but their souls are hungry for that feeling of being seen and felt on an emotional level. This is why avoidants often appear conflicted. They crave emotional intimacy, but fear the surrender it demands. The craving for gentle reassurance. One of the most powerful needs avoidants hold during intimacy is reassurance. Because of their deep-seated fear of rejection or engulfment, they constantly scan for signs of danger in closeness. This makes them seem guarded, but it also makes them crave reassurance even more. They long to hear and feel that they are wanted, valued, and safe in the connection. Yet avoidants rarely ask for this reassurance out loud. Their pride and self-protection keep them from voicing it. Instead, they hope their partners will offer reassurance naturally, without being asked. In moments of intimacy, even simple gestures like steady eye contact, gentle words, or patient silence can meet this hidden craving. What they want is not grand declarations, but small, consistent reminders that they are cherished and secure. The unspoken need for independence within closeness. Avoidants often resist intimacy, not because they dislike closeness, but because they fear losing themselves in it. What they secretly crave is a balance where they can be close and still maintain their independence. They want to know that intimacy does not mean the end of their personal freedom. During intimacy, this need often shows up in subtle ways. They may want to take breaks, they may prefer slower pacing, or they may retreat briefly before returning. On the surface, it may seem like rejection, but inside, it is their way of preserving a sense of independence. If they feel they can keep their identity and autonomy within the relationship, they relax. This paradoxical need to be close yet free is one of the strongest desires avoidants hold, but rarely express. The hunger for unconditional presence. Another unspoken craving of avoidance during intimacy is unconditional presence. They want to know that their partner will stay even when they hesitate, even when they pull back. Their greatest fear is that their defensive behavior will cause abandonment, yet what they deeply long for is a love that remains steady. In intimacy, avoidants crave the quiet presence of someone who does not run when they retreat, who does not punish them for their fear. They long for a partner who can wait without anger, who can hold space until they are ready to step forward again. This presence reassures them that intimacy does not have to be rushed and that love can survive even their hesitation, why they cannot say it out loud. The tragedy for avoidants is that their deepest desires are also their deepest fears. To voice what they crave would require vulnerability, and vulnerability feels dangerous. Saying out loud that they want reassurance, acceptance, or closeness might expose them to rejection. So instead, they protect themselves with silence. They act indifferent, but inside, they are longing. They act distant, but inside, they are hoping. Their inability to articulate these needs often creates misunderstanding in relationships. Partners may interpret their silence as disinterest, when in reality, it is fear. The very things they cannot say are the very things that would transform intimacy for them. How to recognize their hidden cravings. If you are with someone avoidant, you may never hear these desires spoken, but you can see them if you look closely. Notice how they respond when you give them space instead of pressure. Notice how their walls soften when you accept them without judgment. Notice how they linger longer when they feel reassured instead of questioned. These are the signs that their hidden cravings are being met. Avoidants may never say it directly, but their behavior shifts when their silent needs are acknowledged. Intimacy stops feeling like a battlefield and begins to feel like a sanctuary. The man or woman who once seemed unreachable suddenly begins to show warmth and openness. The paradox of avoidant intimacy. The paradox of avoidant intimacy is that they crave exactly what they resist. They want closeness but fear it. They want reassurance but cannot ask for it. They want to be accepted but struggle to reveal themselves. Understanding this paradox is the key to building intimacy with them. By honoring both their need for closeness and their need for independence, by offering both reassurance and space, you help resolve the tension inside them. The result is intimacy that feels safe rather than threatening, nourishing rather than overwhelming. What avoidants crave during intimacy but cannot say out loud is not unlike what we all crave: safety, acceptance, reassurance, independence, presence, and deep emotional connection. The difference is that for them, these desires are buried under layers of fear and defense. They may never voice them, but they feel them deeply. If you are in a relationship with someone avoidant, remember that their distance does not mean a lack of desire. It is often a sign of how much they long for intimacy, but do not know how to navigate it. Patience, understanding, and empathy become the keys to unlocking their heart. And if you yourself identify as avoidant, know that your cravings are valid. You are not broken for wanting both closeness and independence. You are simply human, shaped by your experiences, carrying both wounds and desires. By recognizing what you crave and finding the courage to share it, you take the first step toward intimacy that heals rather than frightens. The truth is that avoidants are not people who do not want love. They are people who want love so deeply that they fear its power. And during intimacy, what they crave most is to be loved in a way that honors both their longing and their fear. That is the secret they cannot say, but it is the truth their hearts carry silently.